Hello there. Welcome aboard for a Thursday night version of the A Game. I'm Rob Acampora, your host, bunkered in the corner of my apartment. I should explain that the reason I'm always in the corner is that my router is right below me.
So you get the best. You get the best internet. So
exactly.
Smart man. Mine's right directly under me.
you, sir, have taught me well. Now, let me give a proper introduction to my man, Christian Cordes. Not only has he been the main engineer on all my podcasts, and he's done a wonderful job, but there is another interesting factoid about Christian you're going to find out about. Not only is he doing filmmaking, not only has he done a lot of things, he's got an interesting family legacy. And Christian, please put the photo of your dad up, if you wouldn't mind.
No problem. Go for it. That's my
Tell me he does not look like his dad so much. Prince B from the group PM Dawn. And the funny thing is, I found this out literally by accident. And I think
tell me your story. I want to know how you found out.
It was a passing conversation with you. You know, it was like it up.
That's right, because you didn't know for the first few episodes of your show. And then we were talking about music, and I was like, oh yeah, my dad PM Dawn, and you were like, come again?
Yeah. What? Are you kidding me? And then it starts to click in your head because you're going, wait a minute, he looks exactly like his father. And that's why I wanted to get that photo up immediately, because you are hauntingly looking like your dad. And I know it's something you're proud of, but it's like,
thank you.
Yeah. When it comes to your, I mean, there's so many things I want to talk about, but I got to start with this, with your dad.
Go for it.
Before we talk about the music, when was the realization that comes over you that my dad's famous? Oof. What was that moment?
Oh, man. There was a couple, but like the true big moment was when between 6th and 7th grade, I went on tour with my dad. So, so we drove. It was me, him, my cousin, and 2 other people, and we drove from here all the way to LA to San Francisco and then back, and along the way a bunch of different stops. And it was so cool because that summer the Cars movie had just come out, so we actually went from here to Chicago, took 66 as much as we could. So he made it really cool, but like he did the tour accordingly. But then that was when I realized, I was like, oh my God, my dad is huge. Because I'll never forget, we were at a county fair my dad was performing, and I went to go ride the rides while they did it, because I'd seen it a million times at this point. And then the guy was like, wait a minute, you're PM Dawn's kid. I was like, yeah, go right ahead. And it was really funny because I was actually hanging out with this girl at the county fair. So we got up to the front of the line, and we both rode what was it? We rode the go-karts. Oh man, and we rode it. But yeah, it was really that tour where I realized, oh my God, my dad is this larger than life figure. Yeah. And then unfortunately, it was also after he passed away. And then when people were reaching out, and it was from everywhere, it was like messages from different spots of the world, and just like it was beautifully overwhelming. It was like it was so cool to see how music, especially at that level, had transcended and touched people in so many beautiful and different ways. So even after he passed, it was still something so cool to see all these people being like, I loved PM Dawn. I loved your dad. Like that was so cool. But yeah, that was really it. Up until that point though, just dad. Just dad. Like, hey Pop, what's up? You wanna go get some pizza? Sure. You wanna go see a movie? Yeah.
Sure. Speaking of Pop, then there's another photo. You posted this recently on Father's Day. I think this is an incredible photo. If you mind putting it up there. Yeah. That is beautiful. I mean, you are maybe a few months old at this point. Your dad has got this look of like, I can't believe this boy is in the world now. This is fantastic.
My dad is, in this photo, he's my age now. He's 25.
Wow.
So it's crazy. I just made that realization recently, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I can't even imagine having a kid right now, let alone being successful and having a kid. But like, yeah, this is a cool photo. And I actually shared this information with you behind the scenes. Do
Yes.
you know who took this photo?
I didn't know until you told me. So please, you got to
This-
tell the story, because this is fascinating, because one of the top rock photographers in the world suddenly has got a camera in his hand. Take it from there.
Mr. Danny Clinch. Mr. Danny Clinch took
We
this.
love Danny.
He took my my baby photos. My first set of photos where, like, I think they were supposed to go in Entertainment Weekly or something like that at the time.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, Danny took those photos, and I actually ran into him. I was doing an event in Asbury. I was at the new Asbury Lanes, and
Yes.
I got to go up to him because at this point I knew who he was through the stories, and
Right.
he looks at me and he's like, "You look really familiar. Why do I know you?" And then I'm like, "Because I'm PM Dawn's kid. You photographed me when I was an infant." And he was like, "Oh my god!" He was like, "Oh my god, I'm sorry for your loss. How's your mother?" I was like, "That's how he knew." He was like, "How's your mom,
Wow.
Mary?" And I was like, "Yeah." That he knew. I was
That's
like, that was
great.
so cool. But yeah, Danny Clinch. There's a bunch of photos like
Yeah.
that. I got to share those eventually. They're
You
great.
you really should. And since we're mentioning Danny, they just made an announcement. Danny is involved in a very big concert that's been in Asbury Park for the last couple of years in New Jersey called See Here Now. They have postponed it till 2021. Hopefully we'll have Danny on this podcast to talk a little bit more about that. But the good news is that the headliner for 2020 was Pearl Jam. It will be the headliner in 2021. So Danny, we wish you all the best for next year's See Here Now festival for sure.
Good luck, Danny.
Absolutely. Christian Cordes, the son of Prince B from PM Dawn here on the A Game. When we go back to the beginning of PM Dawn, obviously the song that launched their career, Stead Drift on Memory Bliss, a #1 single. The thing that I knew about PM Dawn was the single before that. I was in radio, working in an alternative station on the Jersey Shore, FM 106.3, and suddenly here's a watcher's point of view.
Yeah.
And it's got a sample of the Doobie Brothers. It's got this groove that, in a weird way, this is where the innovation and I think the respect of PM Dawn has aged wonderfully over the years. That they could find their way on alternative radio as the group that they are, then suddenly break wide open. But they were also sampling bands you wouldn't think of sampling. They're one of the first that really went down the alternative genre. They've sampled Spandau Ballet with True for Set Adrift. They used the industrial band, techno band 808 State in a couple of their songs. They've even did a cover of the Talking Heads. Nobody really tapped into the alternative rock genre at that point for sampling, but your father sort of had a real vision for this, or was he just really a fan of a lot of that alternative music during that time?
Yeah, my dad was a huge, like most people wouldn't be surprised, but it's true to say my dad loved all forms of music. Like he could find art in any pieces. So my dad was a big vinyl collector. He was one of the big ones back in the day. He actually makes an appearance on that Netflix documentary about hip hop, and they're talking about record people who used to do crate digging, and he was like one of the big guys where they're like PM Dawn used to take all the good shit. and so in our house we have this huge collection of vinyl records, but on some of them they have markings of my dad's, and they'll be like 301 to 305 dope drums, amazing beats, like something like that. So like he everywhere, like random records, like perfect example of this, like how random it is that me and my buddy Scotty Fairgrieve, we were digging through the records one night and we found this old soundtrack that we didn't think much of, and we were just like, let's just put it on. It's here. Why not? So we're listening to it, and then all of a sudden, the People's Court theme song started playing, and we were like, excuse me, what is this? So we looked into it. The People's Court theme song was an old British cop show's soundtrack.
I did not know that.
We didn't know that either, but they renamed it and reused it in the US. So it was just it was like a part of a big production library, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
So we were just sitting there dumbfounded. I was like, how the fuck did my dad like stumble upon this? Like especially in an age where there wasn't a Google yet. Like, how did he know that the People's Court theme song came from an old British cop show? And he was like, I gotta pick that up. So like sources from everywhere, man. He loved all types of music, and
to take that one step further, I can tell by the way he used his samples. I think he was one of the forefathers of doing multi-sampling. We had rap artists that would use like one song in a
Yeah.
sample in their song. But Set Adrift is actually using 3 different songs. A lot of people don't realize it. You wind up having Spandau Ballet on there, but then there's a little bit of Eric B. and Rakim that he's using in that, and then he's also bringing in Sam Cooke. So when you mix it all together, I don't think and I don't think anybody in the rap genre, if I'm not mistaken, had really done that until your father did it.
Yeah, that was one of the big things that he really was at the forefront of. Like, it was kind of crazy because, yeah, the sampling craze happened with the start of hip hop and all that type of stuff. But my dad was, and he even wouldn't have wanted to take credit for it, but it was like he really was at the forefront of like the multi-level sampling. Like, It was a really cool thing because this was also when it was still unmonitored. That's a whole other discussion. That's a whole other thing. But
that's another podcast. What are you
that's kidding? A whole other episode. But yeah, it was. Oh man, it is really cool when you think that was also one of the things where I started to realize also after he had passed, because I wasn't really that much into music as I am now.
Really?
When my dad was here, it was more of an after thing. Like, I would write songs here and there as a kid, but I was very much a film kid. I was always coming up with ideas, but my dad was an active movie buff, so he was like awesome. So he was so about it. But like, music was never really something we like talked about all the time. So it was like, those are the conversations I wish I kind of got in on a little bit more, but like through making my music and showing his family, and they're like, oh my God, like you do it like him. And I'm like, oh my God. It's a cool thing to do now, especially because he was doing it a similar way. Because my dad and his family, my grandfather and my grandmother on his side, very musical background all around on both sides of my family. My mom's brother, my uncle, my late uncle, toured and performed with Michael Monroe. He was a rock guitarist. Yeah, like music on both sides. My grandfather was in a Spanish salsa band that actually made a record. Yeah.
Oh wow!
So multiple sides. My dad's, and I think I have to reconfirm this, but I think my grandfather on my dad's side was a wedding singer. But I know for a fact my grandmother was like in a choir. So
that's amazing.
So all over the spectrum, just a bunch of different musical influences just collapsing in on one fucking brain. But yeah.
But you were also mentioning the passion that your dad had for film, and that's a passion that you have. So when he gets offered the chance to do a song for Boomerang, it becomes this mega hit with Eddie Murphy. I Die Without You is a top 3 smash.
You know what's crazy? I get people talking to me about I Die Without You more than Set Adrift. Like, Set Adrift comes up in conversation afterwards, but it's always I Die Without You. And I love that song. That's one of my personal favorites.
Well, I think this was a statement by your dad too. Looking back on his career, he made a point to say, you know what? I'm more than just this one trick with Set Adrift. I can sing. Yeah. And I'm going to show you flat out. I've got the chops. And he proved it. He proved it in that song Beyond.
Yeah, my dad was an excellent singer. I will say that. I get jealous sometimes because I know I'm not there yet. But like, I know with a couple more years than I can be, with a little more practice. But like, I love those records. But I Die Without You. Oh man, let me tell you something. When they used it in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, I about lost my shit. Because
well, we're gonna get into your connections with the View Askew universe, but I can only imagine finding out like Kevin Smith did what.
Yeah,
he's gonna do what?
Yeah,
I'm sure you had to be totally blindsided by that fact. There was no way you saw it coming.
Completely. So if you want to go into that, we can. If you want to save it for later, we can.
You know what? You know what? Well, let's save on that because I do want to. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. This is Christian Cordes, the son of Prince B from PM Dawn here on the A Game. 3 top 5 smashes for the band. They had back-to-back platinum albums. They toured worldwide. But one album in particular that a lot of people may have forgotten about was around 1998. Now, this is the album that Christian will forever be linked to for a reason. Your dad did probably the ultimate gift right there. The title of the album, Dearest Christian, I'm so very sorry for bringing you here, love, Dad.
Mm-hmm. That's my
I-
my dad's little love letter to me, and it's crazy because again, after he passed, it was one of those things where I refused to listen to it for the longest time, and then one day I was just like, let's talk, Pop. I put the headphones on,
Right.
and I listened to the whole album through, and I was like, wow. And it was the first time in a while that I'd done that, and I had forgotten that I'm on the record at the very end. I forgot, so I was just sitting there, and I heard us talking, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Here comes the waterworks are coming now, no question.
100%. But it was a really cool, a really beautiful moment because it was a while. It was probably 2 years. It was since between him passing me listening to that record in full,
Right.
and it was really cool. But it was also really funny because I had forgotten all about it. So I was listening to it, and I was like, so for some context, at the end of the record, I appear and I talk to my dad when he finishes recording the song Untitled. And I'm like, Dad, did you finish your Lalas? And he's like, yeah, I finished my Lalas. Are you finished? He's like, yeah, let's go listen to it. Tell Mikey bye-bye. Bye-bye, Mikey, bye-bye. And it's so funny because that's something I do with music too. And I love leaving in little like, oh, I finished recording, not bad, like little afterthoughts in a song.
Sure.
A few years ago, I did a Christmas special called "It's an Anderson Harbor Christmas," and it's my adult take on shows like Thomas the Tank Engine, and it began with a song that in the full version you hear at the end me go, "Not bad," and then that's the end of the song.
That's wild.
So that's my little honor and tribute to my pop. Every time I do something like that, it's like, okay, that's cool. Yeah.
The thing about that album that stands out to me, at least, is that the band got probably the most critical acclaim that they ever got in their career with that album. That was the one where the critics finally came together and went, we are recognizing the brilliance of PM Dawn.
Yeah.
And almost every review is like an A review or 8 stars out of 10, 9 out of 10. That was, and yet not a hit, not a major hit on the album, but the critics just went gaga for it.
Yeah, it was not commercially successful, but very critically loved. And like, it was really cool too, because now people were starting to realize, oh yeah,
yes,
PM Dawn was a little bit ahead of their time. And it was crazy that it was that record that got the acclaim because there's barely any hip hop on it. It's a lot more pop and stuff like that. And it was at a point where my dad was really trying to experiment with what PM Dawn could really be, and it was a really cool thing to literally witness. Right. So, but yeah, we actually so we have a bunch of homemade movies. Like my family, there's an entire archive that we probably have to go through. So we were digging through these tapes one day, and we found video of a recording session of I Had No Right. And,
yes, I know the song.
And he's directing the backup singers, and they're doing harmonies. And then all of a sudden, Busta Rhymes just walks into the studio, and he's like, "What's up, Pete?" And then just hanging out. And I thought that was the coolest fucking thing I had ever seen. I was like, "Yo, that's cool."
Exactly, Busta coming in out of nowhere. How could that not be like the coolest moment in anybody's life? Please.
I was like, "Damn!" That was so cool because it was also like a cool, I guess, affirmation that like, oh, people dug it, like people understood what he was going for,
right?
And it was a really cool find. There's a lot of stuff in there, a lot of Christmases that you would love to see footage of.
I'll tell you something. If you start digging that up, we'll do a second podcast on this because I think that would be fascinating to go through that. I'm going to bring up. I apologize for this question because this is a little painful, but
go for it.
I was actually a fan of this limited NBC series that came out of the UK called "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time," and this was a great premise. But the reason I can understand why this could be painful, and I should explain, that the show had PM Dawn on there. They were bringing back artists who had a major hit or 2 or 3, and they would be in competition. The winning band would get X amount of dollars. They would give it to a charity. PM Dawn won the competition. I think Juice Newton was on that episode with Missing Persons.
Yeah.
And the thing that stood out, your dad was not in the best health even then around 2005 because he actually had to sit down for part of the performance. So if you look back on that, that's why I'm asking. In a sense, it's got to be a little painful to kind of know my dad still can deliver it, but he's not quite himself. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does 100%. My dad was making music up until the end. It was a really cool thing. So for a few years, my dad was living with assisted living, and people were helping him. But he actually befriended one of the nurses, the male nurses, who was really into music. So he had an excuse to make music with somebody.
Oh wow!
And it was so cool. I still have those songs, but it was just like, even then he was always creating and stuff like that. But yeah, even when he wasn't doing so well, he was always trying to perform and do as much as he could. And don't take diabetes lightly, people. And that was the cool thing about Hit Me Baby One More Time, is that when he won, he donated it to a diabetes foundation.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
I always thought that was so cool of him to do.
Incredibly unselfish thing for him to do. It was really a quality thing your dad did there. No question.
I remember them filming the segment where they're talking about where they are now.
Yeah,
at my house.
Wow.
In now. Like, I remember the camera crew coming. I remember because my dad was a big video game addict. We got the video games working, and they got clips of him playing Centipede in the basement, playing pool. It's me, my brother, and my sister hanging out in the backyard, and my mom, and I remember it so vividly because it was also another instance of like TV and film, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. But yeah.
You had me at Centipede. Please, I played that religiously. So if I ever met your dad, I'd be like, "On Prince, you and I, one-on-one, let's go."
Centipede competition, 110%.
No doubt.
100.
No doubt about it.
I would have loved to have seen that. Rob Ankapor versus Atrell Cortez. That'd have been great. The matchup of the century, folks.
Hello again. Here we go. Christian Cordes, the son of Prince P of PM Dawn's here on the A Game. There was a couple of comments on Facebook I want to repeat to you because you were talking about him in the hospital. Jared DeVico is from Eatontown, New Jersey. He was working in the hospital that your dad was in toward the end, and he says, I remember sitting with him and talking music when he was in the hospital. A totally great dude. I mean, that sounds like your dad. Really good. His name's Jared DeVico. He was working at the hospital at that point. He was, I know he now works at a different hospital. He was working over there at Jersey Shore. And when we posted that you were coming
amazing.
On. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Jared. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
A couple of interesting ones I got to repeat. This is from Michael Eilis, West Palm Beach, Florida. It's like, I love this band, love their first album, love Set Adrift. I happen to know Michael. He's a radio programmer down there. I mean, that's another high praise when you're getting radio people who think about your father and his music
your work
well.
This time, as much time has passed, still think about it. People still write retrospectives on my dad, and it's the craziest thing because I think even Wax Poetics did something recently about him.
Yeah, no, that's funny you're mentioning that because I know. By the way, Christian's dad did pass away almost 4 years ago to the day, and I actually saw a write up, and probably was the same article you're about to mention. It was fascinating because it only came out like a week or two ago, and it was a whole write up about your dad, about PM Dawn, and about certain things. It mentioned the battle with KRS-One. I didn't even want to go there because I remember it.
No, it's okay. I understand. It's like it was a very public thing, but what most people don't really know is that they had squashed it almost as instantly as it started, and they were very friendly. Like it was still stupid, but like there's literally video proof of them talking about their truce.
And I'm glad you're saying that it was stupid because that's kind of the vibe I got about the whole thing. It's like this is almost trivial at this point, when you look back on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I only refer to it as stupid because I don't know the context fully I don't even know really what happened. I wasn't there. But,
right, of course.
I mean, I never really looked into it because I never wanted to look into that weird side of it where it was like the negatives. But like, just from the outside, it was like, I mean, they squashed it. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. Like, they were good. They spoke before he passed and stuff like that. So as long as it was in that regard and everything was cool, it was awesome. One of the best pieces that was written right when he passed away, in my opinion, was Questlove. he put out an amazing Instagram post where he was, and this is, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. It was him calling my dad the Brian Wilson of hip hop, or what he could have been.
Oh my God!
And that for me at that time, I was just discovering who Brian Wilson was and is, and I was obsessed with that sound. And me and my brother actually have a band, and our first record, The Melted Crayons, was very
great
name. Thank you. The first album was The Melted Crayons in Color, and the whole album was Beach Boys inspired. And I really wanted to try and get that sound. Funny enough, I got that sound in fucking GarageBand. So eat shit. But yeah, I had loved that sound, and right when my dad passed and all that, and then when Quest said that, I was like, I never thought about it in that regard, and that truly flipped the script on a lot of things for me. I was just like, I was completely blown away. It was one of the best things I could have ever read when that happened. So Quest, if you ever see this, thank you 1,010,000 times. I can't thank you enough how much that meant to me and my family. Thank you.
Amen. Christian Cordes here on the A Game. Now, he's more than just the son of Prince B on PM Dawn. He is a guy who's connected to the View Askew universe. That's Kevin Smith's world.
Yes, I am.
We are going to get into what we were talking about earlier about the song being in the reboot. But we got to start with Ming and Mike, because you're part of their world. Here in a shared universe, you do a lot of the work behind the scenes. Now, how did you and Ming hook up? Let's start with that, because you are as important of a piece in this company as anybody, because, hey, look, you've sort of got attached to me. I'm going, yeah, when all else fails, go to Christian, and he takes a lot of my abuse. Trust me. I'm not the easiest person to work with sometimes.
No, man. Honestly, Rob, and I will say this to your audience, you're honestly one of the better podcasts I work with. You're one of my favorites, and I do look forward to your show because it's music. You talk about stuff that is true to what I like to talk about.
Yeah. So music, film,
So even if you bust my balls on your show, which you do. It's all out of love, and I truly mean that. I hope you know that.
No, I do. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
No problem. That being said, so what were you gonna? I'm just messing with you. So yeah. So what were you asking?
So Ming and Mike, they recruit you, so to speak, and that's how it got started. But was that the first part of the View Askew universe, or did you get in earlier than that?
I didn't get in earlier, but I had met Kevin. So here's this weird domino effect of my entry into the View Askew universe.
Please.
So I'm at home one day. I think this is 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is after my dad. Yeah, this is after my dad passed away.
So we're like
2016. Yeah. Okay. So I'm at home and I get a notification because I follow Kevin. I'm a huge fan. I shit you not, one of the first things I remember being afraid of as a kid was the shit demon from Dogma, because my dad was a huge Kevin Smith fan. My dad loved Kevin Smith movies.
That's wild.
My mom was so excited to show me Clerks because she was like, "You're gonna love this world. Your father loved this stuff." And I remember being so blown away by the dialogue and the characters, and I was like, this is amazing. So I was an instant fan, almost more than my dad. So I follow him on Facebook. He posts a notification and that says he's at the Ocean County Mall, which is 20 minutes away from me tops. I was there in 10.
Of course.
So I go in and I'm nervous because I'm I've never gone full on Uber fan like that before and was like, get in the car, go to the fucking mall to meet my idol.
So here's the moment. It's basically that, all right, I'm geeking out. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. So I enter the mall and he's there and he's talking to his fans and stuff like that. And there's a little bit of a line. And I meet his mom and she's one of the nicest people ever. She's super sweet. And I tell her, I'm like, I'm super excited to meet him. Like, I'm a huge fan. And like, she's like, oh, it was like, she was like being really nice about it. So then it's my turn to go up. I tell him I'm Christian. I'm a filmmaker. I was very much inspired. But he was like, thank you, man. And then I was like, do you happen to know who PM Dawn is? He's like, absolutely, man. Like, I know. I have PM Dawn on my iPod right now. Like, and he named, he had I Die Without You and Set Adrift on Memory Bliss right in his playlist. And I told him he was my father. He was a very big fan. His eyes lit up and was like, get out of here. Oh my God. I love your dad. Like, I was a huge fan. Like, he was a fan of me. I was a fan of him. Like,
that's great.
I was like, that's so fucking cool. That's amazing. So then I was like, hey, can you actually record something for my mom? And he recorded a message. He took my phone, which was really hilarious, and recorded a video message from my mom, which was like, hey, Mary, my name's Kevin Smith. I don't mean much, but I'm also from New Jersey. I've directed some films, and I just met you. And I just met your son. He turns the camera. I'm geeking out, and he's like, I was such a big fan of PM Dawn. I loved them so much. I got I Die Without You and Set Adrift on Memory Bliss lined up on my phone right now. Like, I was a huge fan, and you were married to a legend, and you still are. It was an honor, pleasure, and it was like one of the best things that had ever happened to me at that point. And it was so cool. My mom loved it. She loved that video. So Kevin, if you ever watch it, she loved it. But yeah, it was. Yeah. So I met him, and then a few months later, my friend Laura messages me, and she's like, "Hey, you want to come be on my podcast?" I was like, "Sure." No problem. I'd never been on a podcast before, but why not? I got nothing better to do on a Friday night. So,
hey, that's pretty much the pandemic these days. You know that.
Exactly, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm already prepping for COVID before COVID already happened. All right, so
you were prepared. Oh my God.
So I go do the podcast, and then I'm walking up to the building, and I meet Laura, and she's like, "Hey, the podcast is going to be fun. It's going to be great. Ming and Mike are there. It's going to be." Hey, hold up. What do you mean Ming and Mike are going to be there? Oh, I host the show with Ming. And I was like...
So here, you're like, now you're starting to connect the dots. I'm like going, I'm about to meet Ming from Comic Book Man and Mike from Comic Book Man. What?
My mistake. It was just Ming at this point. I met Mike at a later date.
No problem. This is the door opener, so to speak.
Yeah. So we do the podcast, which was the Coral Sword podcast. They don't do it as much anymore, but I heard it's coming back. And... I was just on it. They were just like, you could be on the show. And apparently Ming had known me already. And I was like, how do you know who I am? The first thing he said to me when I walked through the door was, hey, you're PM Dawn's kid. I was like,
you're like, oh my God.
How do you know that? He's like, oh, from Kevin. And Laura told me. And I was like, oh, that's
so the
cool.
wheels are, I think, in your head are kind of going at this point. Did Kevin Smith just get the wheels turning in my life that I didn't expect?
Yeah, and it was a really cool thing. So I did the podcast, and then me and Ming hit it off, and we were talking about just comics and movies and shit. And he was like, "Hey, you want to work here?" Sure.
Look at that.
I was unemployed at the point, and so I was like, absolutely, I would love to. Knew nothing about podcasts, but I was like, that's beside the point. I'm taking this job. So I shit you not, I learned literally in like 2 or 3 days audio engineering as much as I could.
I think that what helps you, Christian, is that you have a handle on music. So audio engineering probably comes a little natural to you, and because it's such a new medium, that it was more like, okay, you know what? Nobody's really mastered this yet. So I'm just going to learn everything I can and just kind of educate myself. And if I educate myself well enough, I know I got it.
110%. So I was like, I learned the stuff, and then Ming shows me the ropes, and it's much easier than what I thought it was going to be. And I've been at a shared universe 2.5 years now.
Pretty much since the inception. That's great.
Yeah. And it's honestly been one of the best jobs I've ever had. I've met so many amazing people, and it's been amazing as a creative too, because I get to hear many different perspectives on life, on art, and people's viewpoints on everything. And I always joke about it, but it's true. I'm the first audience member. I get to listen first before anyone else does.
This is true.
So,
this is very true.
So jokes on everybody when they say I'm not a fan. So shut up. But yeah, I love it. I think it's such a cool medium that I had never thought of exploring until I worked there. So then I ended up doing my own podcast with my friends called the Frame by Frame podcast, where we talked about animation. Because I was like, we love cartoons. We're gonna talk about that, and it was awesome. It unfortunately is not going. We're planning on bringing it back, but yeah. So that's my intro into the basics of the View Askew universe.
So now we can seg back to something we were talking about earlier. So now the door's been opened with Kevin Smith. You're a part of View Askew in the sense of working for a shared universe. Yeah. Now suddenly. Okay, a couple years down the road, here comes the setup for Jay and Silent Bob, the reboot, and then you're finding out, and let me emphasize this: it's not like you pushed the idea of the song on Kevin. Kevin did this completely on his own, just to kind of go, you know what, this would be kind of cool. And again, your reaction just had to be like, did the planets just line up the way I think they just lined up?
Rob,
the
same thoughts ran through my head because Because when I met Kevin, I didn't push anything like that. I'm not I'm not that person. I will never be that person.
And allow me to interject to get back to a point you said before. He was raving about your dad. He's raving that he had the songs on his iPod and all this stuff. So in a sense, it sets it up. It says he truly was a fan, that he's willing to put it in his movie.
Yeah. And that really, that was really a moment for me. And I still have yet to say thank you properly. But it was incredible because then I put when he announced Jay and Silent Bob reboot, I was like, oh, awesome. I didn't think PM Dawn was going to be in it.
No, of course not.
Absolutely not. But then, because when people license my dad's music like that, we don't really get told all the time. That's just kind of how things work. We kind of find out. So this is one of those things where we just kind of found out. And we didn't have any objections with it, obviously, but but it was an amazing thing because when it was I Die Without You, that blew my mind because that was one of the songs he had mentioned he was listening to. So, and then when he announced Reboot, which was a couple of months after that, and then he had his heart attack, but then he made the movie. Right. Then the gears started turning in my head, and I was like, wait a minute. Did he put the song in the movie after we met because we met? Because he had been listening to it at that time, and he had only just announced Reboot later, but he must have been toying with the idea for a while before he announced it.
Very possible, yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's so cool. That was an amazing thing to realize, that was a really cool moment. For all I know, he was just like, yeah, let's just put I Die Without You in there. Well, I don't know how it really went down, but if that's how it went down, I was like, it's still so cool.
Absolutely.
And how things aligned and stuff like that. And let me tell you, my dad would have flipped shit. He would have. I know exactly how he would have reacted. He would have bugged out because he loved Kevin Smith movies.
I get the feeling he would have been like, Kevin, so long as I'm at the premiere of the movie, we're fine.
And I did go. I went to
fantastic.
I went to the very first screening in Asbury Park, and I brought my friend Emily, and we're watching the movie. And I had told her ahead of time, I was like, hey, listen, so my dad's music is actually in this movie. Mm-hmm. So at any point in the movie, you see me bawling, you know why.
Right, exactly.
So I thought they were going to use it comedically, to be completely honest with you. I thought it was going to be a completely... I thought I was going to see Jay doing the thing from Clerks 2 to I Die Without You. I'm not going to lie. But then I watched
Then it happens and you're like, oh, wow.
No, oh my God. It's at a really powerful moment in the movie. Yes. Yeah, there's a joke here or two, but it's a really cool point where Jay's character is starting to realize how much he cares for the kid. And I was like, oh no, this is amazing. And I'm sitting there oh man, I wish you were here to see this, man.
Absolutely.
You would have loved it. Yeah. But it was an amazing, amazing experience. And that was something I'll always be grateful for.
One more connection with View Askew, and that involves another photo that I sent you. Please pick it up because I happen to know this guy as well, too. That is Ernie O'Donnell from Clerks. He played the trainer. He actually was going to have a bigger role in the movie. It didn't quite work out, but he still was in the movie.
Yeah, I can tell you what's wrong. You're out of shape.
Hey, Ernie's, I'll tell you something. The pandemic came probably at the worst time for Ernie because he's had a lot of good projects that were about to come out. And he's somebody that I hope, Ernie, if you're watching, you are due to come on this at some point for sure.
Ernie will bounce. He's that resilient.
But Ernie's pissed at me because he invited me to a poker game and I finished second and I took a lot of money off of him. So he's still, you don't piss off Ernie O'Donnell in a poker game. I'm just saying that. Yeah,
I know how we could fix this.
Oh,
Centipede Championship. It's all good. That'll fix everything.
I can say it's not like Donkey Kong, but it's Centipede. So but Smodcastle is a series of short little vignettes that you've been involved with. I've even heard your voice in the background with Ernie. You're getting a lot of hits on YouTube right now. Obviously coming out through the umbrella of a View Askew. So, I mean, it's basically Ernie's kind of designing stuff, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, the Smodcastle is a joint venture between Ernie and Kevin. And from when they told me about it, I'm not going to lie, the whole video series is my idea. That I'm very happy
Congratulations.
about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was very cool with. So I told Ming about it. I was like, hey, Ming, I know Kevin's doing the Smodcastle. And he was like, oh, that's a good idea, Christian. I'll pass it up the chain. And I didn't think much of it for about a month and a half. I was just like, okay, that's not going to happen. And then word gets back to me through Ernie that Ernie really liked the idea and they wanted to do it. But Kevin had wanted to send his video guy down and do it. But then Ernie was like, nah, I got a guy. And that guy was me. And it was an amazing opportunity. It's a really cool thing to be a part of. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, I'm nerding out, but it's fantastic.
No problem. Yeah, I'm just going to say the series is up on YouTube right now. So if you want to go on at your leisure, check it out. I just finished episode 4. I know there's more coming down the pike. So it's something you want to follow, especially if you're into the whole View Askew universe. This is something kind of cool, and it's only going to take about 5 to 10 minutes of your life. It's worth the time for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a great little video series, and I think it's personally like one of the cooler things I've done.
And the funny thing is, I know Ernie has a short film that's going to come out in 2021. I know you were a big part of helping out with the sound of the Seventh Day. Yes. Buddy of mine, Bob Stankiewicz, was in the movie as well. So looking forward to see that hit the circuit, hopefully by January 2021 when the short film circuit starting again.
It's a fantastic short. And guess what? It also has a PM Dog connection.
Oh, okay. How?
So one of the producers on that film is a very cool family friend of mine named Chris Vaughn. And Chris Vaughn produced a documentary back in the day called Jersey Boy Hero, which my dad appeared in. And they captured footage together. There's amazing stories that I could go into about that time. But yeah, Chris, I show up on set and Chris is like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, I'm working, man. I'm a production assistant. I slithered my way into this world, man. I'm making it happen. But yeah, that was an awesome film to be a part of. Yeah, it's a really cool piece, so people be on the lookout for it. It's a really awesome thing.
He is the proud son of Prince B of PM Donnie's Christian Cordes here on the A Game, up to the point where we do random shots. And with that, I say to your dad, because he was an amazing man, as I'm getting to know tonight. Cheers.
Thank you.
All right, now that I got that out of the way, random questions.
Awesome.
Go for it. They're gonna, some of the music, some of it not.
Okay.
But you'll see the connections when I talk about them. In your mind, who was the better rap artist, Derek B. and Rakim or Big Daddy Kane?
Big Daddy Kane. Big Daddy Kane. Also,
lights, camera, action, all hail the one who gets the job done. Thank you very much.
Also, fun fact.
Go ahead, a fun fact, yeah.
Nicest guy.
Nicest really?
Dude. Very nice dude. Very nice guy.
Yeah. I remember it's a Big Daddy thing, so I remember the album. So that's why I literally went, I know his dad sampled Derek B. and Rakim a little bit, but I had to throw in somebody from that era that was right on the same line as in I'm like going, I'm kind of surprised you went Big Daddy Kane, but I like where you went with that.
Okay.
Okay. Better current artist,
Mm.
Drake or Childish Gambino?
Childish Gambino.
You had to say that. You know he covered one of your dad's songs. You
And
know this.
it's not even because of that.
Okay.
I've been a fan of his for a while, and I love, like, honestly, what he's doing as a creator is something I would personally love to do. Because he's got his hands in a bunch of different things.
Oh
my God. He's doing TV, he's doing film, he's doing music. I love that. Just the icing on the cake that he covered "I Die Without You."
Yeah, it really is.
Like that was amazing. But like he's one of my favorite artists. Drake is cool, but I respect Childish's hustle.
What he's doing, he's won a Golden Globe, he's won an Emmy, and he's won a Grammy. I mean, that right there, that's a career, and he continues to do that consistently the last 2 years. Bravo to him for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, best PM Dawn cover. Was it Puddle of Mud's Blurry, which he did on Hit Me Baby One More Time, or was it Under the Bridge by the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Oh, Under the Bridge. Under the Bridge is my personal favorite because
Before you even go off on that, I'm going to tell everybody, find this on YouTube. This is a brilliant, brilliant cover. He basically kept somewhat traditional, but put in a nice hip-hop groove that worked, and it worked amazing. I was blown away by it. It was quite a discovery. I'm like, what is, doing my homework, and I'm going, what the hell is this? So I listened to it, and I'm going, oh, you're kidding.
Before I give you another answer, another cool gem that I recommend for people is my dad did a song on the X-Files soundtrack called "If You Never Say Goodbye," which is an amazing record. He actually co-wrote it with the creator of X-Files. Oh, wow! It's an amazing song. So another undiscovered gem. Go check it out. Next question.
Next question. All right, let's refer to you. There is a song on YouTube right now. It's got about 125,000 views, roughly, between the two versions of this song. Now, this is not a song that I would say was intentionally made to be anything more than for a cartoon. Do you want to elaborate on this a little bit?
Okay, yeah. So when I was experimenting with music, one of the first things I learned was write what you know. And I was like, okay, what do I know? When I was a kid, when I was a child, I adored Thomas the Tank Engine. It was one of my favorite shows growing up. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I loved this shit. I loved it. It was I loved it. So I wrote a song about this, but it was also at the time someone was producing a fan video game, so they had heard I was working on it. Hey, we'll put it in the video game. Video game didn't end up happening. So I was just like, okay, I have this Thomas song that I wrote that I really like. Which I was like, okay, let me put it up online. Sure. Let's just see what happens. So I didn't think anything of it for a minute. Like I was
you're just putting it in there in the universe just for fun more than anything else.
Yeah. Come back a week later. It was at like 10,000 views. I was like, what?
What just happened, right? You're kind of like thinking to yourself, this could not be happening right now. How the heck did that little video suddenly get 10,000 views just like that?
I was dumbfounded because it was also like one of the first pieces of music I put up on YouTube. So I was like, okay, it's not going to do anything. Like, no. And then 10,000 views. I was like, oh, what happened? Yeah. So it turns out, and it's something I had forgotten about because I was also a part of it. There's a huge community of Thomas and Friends fans that love and adore the show to the point that they make their own fan productions. The company has gotten involved with fans to make official content. And the coolest thing that came from that is from making those songs was two things. So I made the song, and then fans started reinterpreting it and making their own music videos of it. Yes, my art had inspired other people to make their own art. That was so cool. I thought that was amazing.
And you were getting a lot of fans from the UK, as I noticed, not just the United States. You got a lot of big fans overseas. A lot. Yeah. Well, Thomas is from there. Thomas was carried over to the US in the mid 90s. So I was part of that. Like, oh, this is brand new. When in fact Thomas had been going since the mid to late 80s. So I discovered this amazing fan community. So I was like, you know what? This is a loyal audience. I'm going to keep making content for this. So I kept
writing and producing songs about Thomas and Friends.
Great.
And I was like, you know what? I'm having fun with this. People are enjoying it.
Yeah.
This is all it is. Like, it's not going to last forever, but like, it's something I really enjoyed doing. It's like keeping me in touch with like a part of myself that I was like, this is really dope. And seeing people create music videos was the coolest thing, man. It was like people loved it that much that they were like, I want to see what a video of this would look like. So then around this time, Mattel was partnering up with a bunch of Thomas fans to create something called the Thomas Creator Collective.
Okay.
And they were creating fan-made Thomas content for the official Thomas and Friends YouTube channel.
Wow.
Now, it was a really cool thing. I thought that was like, oh, that's a really cool thing for a brand to do. Because I'd never heard of any company doing something like that. So I was like, I would love to be a part of that. So I told my friend Adam, passingly, I was like, hey, Adam, I would love to write some songs for this. Maybe if it happens, cool. If not, whatever.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get in as a writer because I wanted to help write some episodes. Like, that was my big thing. It still is.
Right.
So then I get an email, and it was, hi, my name is Eric, and I run the Thomas and Friends Creator Collective. Myself and the executive producer of Thomas and Friends have heard your music, and we would love you to write some songs for the Thomas and Friends YouTube channel.
Fantastic.
I was like, you're punking me. This ain't, that's not happening. No. So, yeah, that was what ended up happening. And the first song assignment I got for them was a very big deal. I got to write the year-end wrap-up for them, which they posted on the YouTube channel. It was called Let's Ride the Rails. And and right now I think it's at 500,000 views, but that's not even the biggest. That's not even the biggest one.
Wow! Geez.
I got to write 4 songs, 1 cover for them, and it was one of the best experiences I ever had.
And in an interesting way, as you're talking about your podcast, which is about cartoons, it gives you real credibility in the industry when it comes to cartoons because of this experience.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like a lot of people are like blown away by that. You were like, you got to write songs for Thomas? I was like, yeah, it was a really cool thing. I got to write almost a PM Dawn-ish pop ballad called "Let's Ride the Rails." I got to write a Scooby-Doo-esque chase song called "Runaway Rock and Roll," and then the big thing for me, which was a personal huge deal, was I got to rewrite and remake the Thomas and Friends theme song for some new characters.
Right
now, this is remember what I said earlier about the fan music videos?
Yes.
This one was a little different. This blew up in such a capacity that fan videos for it were getting millions of views, not thousands like my songs.
Right, millions.
Like, it was crazy to witness, but it was because the characters at the time, they were in a between shift because Thomas has been changing in the last few years.
Sure.
And they were like the last considered like of a bygone era. So when I did that, they were like, oh my God, a roll call just for these guys? Oh my God. And I don't even think they thought that much of it until people started reposting it. They were like, uh-oh, what did we do? But it was a quick opportunity. It didn't last very long. They ended the program about a year and a half ago. But even up until that point, I have a couple of unreleased stuff from them too, like a lot of stuff that they didn't end up going with. But although short, it was one of the best experiences I ever had creatively, because it was like I actually got to leave a small but noticeable fingerprint on something I adored as a child. And I was good with that. I was like, that's awesome.
This is almost the perfect way to wrap it up, because what we're going to do, I'm going to ask Christian one more question. It's very important, but we're going to wrap up with one of those videos that was done for Thomas the Train. You're going to get to hear Christian's voice. You're going to get to understand this guy's got the goods. He truly has the goods.
I'm glad you like it too, by the way.
I do.
Thank you for that. I appreciate
Absolutely. You know, and again, I've gotten to know you as a person. I haven't really known you as a singer, so it was nice to kind of finally hear your voice and go, he's his dad, but he's got a different register. That's the one thing I noticed right away. You definitely have maybe an octave too higher register than your dad, which works for you. It absolutely is beautiful.
Thank you.
You know, yeah. But now this sets up where I'm going to go for the last question.
Go for it.
Because I do know from what I've been hearing, your uncle, who is a part of PM Dawn, is doing some solo material. at this point. That's his thing. He's doing what he's doing.
my cousin.
Your cousin, excuse me.
My cousin Greg. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
He was recruited towards the later. There's some issues there.
Right.
That's why the original versions of Set Adrift isn't on Spotify. But
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, he had re-recorded some I can't really go into that any further
no problem.
than I can.
No problem. I can understand that.
But yeah, he's not necessarily PM Dawn. That's not the direction we're going in. He's just
which brings me to this. When it comes to PM Dawn, it's almost impossible to do the project again without your dad. The only way I could see it is if you are going to be a part of PM Dawn. I know it's asking a big question here, and I don't expect a clear answer because there's probably a lot of moving parts to it.
Mm-hmm.
But can I at least ask, could it be possible that if the planets were to align right, that you would be willing maybe to do some of your dad's material?
Honestly, if it was under the right circumstances, 110%, I would do it. And
great.
But here's the thing, though: it wouldn't be just me. I have a brother and sister. My brother Brandon and my sister Mia, who are both immensely talented when it comes to music. My brother now is making hip hop beats that are starting to also get noticed. Because I'll send you some of his material afterwards.
Please do.
If you listen to it, you can hear like, oh my God, it's amazing. And my sister is a working songwriter out in LA. She beat me. Oh my God, that's a great story. But she beat me to the freaking Henson Studios. She beat me to the Muppet Studios, and I was so mad about it. I was so upset about it. But yeah, she was working at the Henson Recordings because that's where one of the best studios is in the world. And she sent me a picture, and I was like, I was so proud, but I was so freaking mad.
Yeah,
I was
of course.
like, how could you do it to me? But yeah. I want them to be involved, obviously, probably even more in an aspect than I would be. Because, I mean, I believe in my singing abilities, but I believe too much in PM Dawn for it to not be where I think it should be. And you know what?
It says a lot, because I think the one thing that your father did was he made this a family affair. You want to do it the same way, knowing that you have talented siblings, and do it the right way. And I think that is something that I hope will come to fruition. I really do.
I can't give away a lot, but there's a lot of unreleased material.
Yeah, like the Under the Bridge, by the way.
Under the Bridge.
The cover of the Chili Peppers, yeah.
There's a song that my dad had done, but it wasn't accepted for the original Spider-Man movie that we still have. Wow. There's a lot of songs out there. So it's in the cards. I'll have a lot of stuff for it. Personally, I would love to do a biopic of my pop. I think that'd be a really cool thing, but not a standard one. I would love to do the early years leading up to a watcher's point of view.
Right.
That's what I'd love to do. But
there's a lot of great stories, I'm sure. I think that would be a fantastic premise, no doubt about it.
Thank you, Rob.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me, man.
No,
this was
my
awesome.
pleasure. I'm glad you had a great time.
I had an awesome time, and this has been such a fun experience. It really has.
I'm glad.
And I really appreciate it.
No problem. Some great stories. It's good to reminisce about PM Dawn, talk about what you're doing, and this is the perfect way to wrap it up. This is a video that has been done for Thomas the Train.
And this is fan-made, by the way.
That's what I was about to say. This is one of the fan-made videos of your song.
Yes. This is one of the ones that, when I first did the Thomas song, this is one of about 12 that popped up in about 3 to 4 weeks after I released it. Mm-hmm. And it was made by a kid named Tommy, who does videos to this day. Every time I put out as Thomas or any type of song related to that, Tommy will always do a video. So, Tommy, if you're watching this, I appreciate you, man, because that is honestly a cool thing that you're doing.
It's the wrap for the A game, but this is your chance to get to listen to the voice of Christian Cordes. You may compare it to Prince B, but I think you're going to be really impressed with what you're about to see. That's a wrap for this week. Be watching on Facebook to find out when my next episode is coming up. You'll see this man in one way, shape, or form in the future as he continues to deal with my crap. Thanks, Christian.
See you later, Rob.
Take care, man. Here's the video, by the way. Enjoy.
He's got a short, stumpy funnel and a short, stumpy dome. The island of Sorghum is where you call home. Always ready, always willing. station to Brandon Docks, helping his engine friend shut the troublesome trucks. And when he's not doing that all the time, he's working on his own branch line. He is the number one. He is the number one. Tom is your number one. You are the number one. The world knows he's a really useful engine, making tracks to greater destinations. A shining blue streak of positivity. Since 1984 he's been a friend to you and me. When you hear his whistle coming down the line, you'll always know it's gonna be a good time. You'll get a smooth ride in any Clarabelle as he pulls you through the Sodor countryside. You are the number one. You will always be the number one. He knows he's not alone, he's got his friends right by his side. Edward James, Henry, Gordon, Percy, and many more in sight. They're all united, stand together through the stormy weather. Steamy or diesel, yeah, it doesn't really matter. The top of Mad loves all his engines. He gave them numbers as a sign of affection. But there can only be one number one. Yeah, there can only be one.